and welcome to a Tuesday edition of the show with Jim and Amadeus. Amadeus, hope you had a lovely holiday weekend and are ready to talk some baseball.
Yeah, Jim, it's funny because obviously, our holiday was last weekend, but
Right.
man, Monday always feels like a holiday for us. Nobody goes to work, nobody is
Right.
on the roads. Honestly, I think Canadians just take the American holidays just because half of them, even when I talk to them, like I'll have someone tell me, like, oh, I have a second cousin who lives in the States, so we're observing Memorial Day. It's like, doesn't make any sense, but it felt like a holiday for me. Just had to put it out there.
Well, if you need it, I'll be happy to adopt you for a day, and you can take the day off. So make it work. It's usually on Tuesday we talk Major League Baseball, so we're going to take a quick look at the top 10 power rankings according to MLB and CBS. So at the top of the 10, at the 10 spot, is the Mariners. They're 29 and 26. They haven't, they had a pretty good week, but I guess if you have a winning record, you can make a case for being a top 10 team.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree as a top 10 team. They're definitely, top half. They are leading their division, and as you said, they got a winning record, which that can't say that for most of the teams in that division. But
right.
I think top 10 is a little generous for the Mariners. I don't think that's a very strong division right now in baseball.
Nope, you're right. I would definitely agree. Number 9, the Twins. The Twins had a wonderful time beating up on bad teams. The problem is now they have to play teams with a combined record, right now for the last 26 games of 19-7. So things are going to get a little more difficult this week as the Twins, and their march goes on. So we'll see how that works out for the Twins at number 9. By the way, they're up 3 spaces.
Oh, are they? Well, the Twins, they've been a very consistent team this year. I wasn't expecting them to have a losing record. I'm actually more shocked that the Central has gone through a transformation themselves. The Royals are killing it. The Guardians are killing it. So, who would have thought the Central is making a case for the strongest division in the AL right now?
That's we'll see how that is in about 2 months. Okay. The Bravos are at the 7th spot. They dropped 2 this week. You look at another devastating injury to Robert Acuna Jr. Ronald Acuna has had 2 ACL tears in 4 seasons. And that's bound to put some serious pressure on that outfield. No one person, that Braves organization is no one person does is the key to the all. But you cannot continually play without Ronald Acuna Jr. and expect to win that division.
Yeah, obviously, there's lots of talent on that team, so definitely a top team in the MLB. They did get off to that hot start, but yeah, you got to be worried if you're a Braves fan going forward. As you mentioned, weeks ago, their pitching is already been dealing with a lot of injuries, and now you want to throw, they haven't been playing well this last week or so, and now you want to throw the Acuna injury on top of that, and yeah, at some point it feels like it's just building up for this Braves team, and they might go on a losing streak soon. Who knows?
Here's an interesting. We're at 6 with the Royals, okay, and they're up 1 from last week. They're 34 and 21, and a fun stat that I found interesting is they don't hit a lot of home runs. Okay, they're not a home run hitting ball club. They've actually hit more triples than they hit home runs. That to me is amazing.
Yeah, definitely. I would say it's easier to hit a home run than to get a
Yeah.
triple, because a triple's like very specific. The ball's got to land in a certain area and got to be hit a certain way for you to end up on that base.
Well, these parks that are built the way they are now, these boutique parks, right? They're not necessarily uh, prone to triples. I mean, you either have to have an incredibly fast team, or a very lucky team, one of the two. But that's you don't see a team have more triples than they have home runs. But it's working for Kansas City, so there you go. The Dodgers are at number 5. They're 3 spots down, 33 and 22. The team has had, right now, a stretch where had some losing streaks, which is not something that the Dodgers are used to having. But part of it, seemingly, is that they're getting good pitching than no hitting, or they're getting good hitting, no pitching. So they got to get that synced up, and if they can get that synced up soon, then they'll be fine. But I don't really worry about the Dodgers, but for right now, they're having a little bit of a mini slump. They'll likely come out of it.
Yeah.
So then we move up to the Baltimore Orioles. Now, the Orioles were finally swept in a 3-game regular season series for the first time since 2022. And they responded by winning 4 straight games afterwards. So the Orioles are at 34 and 18, the best in the East, and right now playing solid baseball. The Guardians are having a fantastic season thus far, and it just seems to be that they are choosing to show the Twins who's boss. They've got if they have a week like they did last week, they may be just running away.
Yeah, they're another one like the Royals, right? They're all about that small ball. So they find ways to get guys on base. They've been bringing in the runs, and that's their thing, right? They've had good pitching, a solid bullpen, solid starters for the last 2-3 years now. But this year they have an offense, which is something you don't really see from them. So that's really been the key to their success this season, is all of a sudden the offense is hitting.
Okay, number 2, the New York Yankees. Now, the New York Yankees, I think I said the Orioles are in first place. They're not. Then the Yankees are in first place. But here's where things start to get weird. The New York Yankees ownership is basically already talking like a mid-market team, saying there's 3 or 4. I mean, they've got some guys who are coming up for free agency, one of which, of course, is Juan Soto. And they're lowballing everybody. They're like, hey, I'm not sure we can, afford this guy, that guy, name the player. And, the Yankees are walking around like the Rays. It's like, I'm not sure I can do this. Look, I know everybody has a budget, but the Yankees starting to talk like that. I mean, gosh, George Steinbrenner roll over in his grave.
Yeah, I don't know how the New York media is not ripping them apart right now for that, because that's bad. Like you said, you understand if it's the Rays talking like that, but you're the Yankees, and who the hell do you think you're fooling? You can go to the players and say, yeah, we don't have the money to sign you and him and him and him, but they're just going to look at you and say, yes, you do. You're the Yankees. What are you talking about? The money's there. Money. Yeah, exactly.
Money. But look, I hope. I mean, it's possible, but I hope that they're not taking a page out of the Red Sox, situation where they become such a conglomerate that they look at the Yankees and go, we've got four other things that we're dealing with here. It's just a part of our portfolio. We can only spend X amount of dollars on this portfolio.
Yeah, and didn't the Red Sox do that a few years ago? They
Yeah.
let all their lineup go, and how has that
Yeah.
worked out for them the last few seasons?
Well, ask Mookie Betts; he'll be happy to tell you.
Exactly.
Worked out real well for him. So I don't know. This is a little bit weird. Now they may just be sandbagging for a while, but I don't know. I mean, they're already crying poor to Juan Soto, and Juan is represented by Scott Boras, who does not, take no for an answer. So if the Yankees want to keep Soto, they're going to have to pony up the cash. And the problem is
the same guy who tried to get Snell a max contract, and look how Snell has come out this season.
Yeah, good for him. Yeah, he still gets. It's really not been a good time for Matt. So we'll see. We'll see how the Yankees play. Top of the pack, the Philadelphia Phillies, 38-7. The Fighting Phils are playing incredible baseball. I mean, they just don't seem to want to lose, and that's okay. They did lose a series in Colorado, but that's baseball. So you're going to lose series from time to time. Oh, excuse me. The Phillies bore me. They're a fun team to watch. I will say that they're definitely a fun team to watch.
All credit to the Phillies for sure. I mean, I love to rag on them for Rye Cape. That's how do. Rise the positive note on the negative note, but absolutely.
Right.
Who would have saw this come? They're starting to look like the team that was in the World Series just a few years ago.
Yeah.
So that's what it was, right? And that team had no pitching. I would make the argument that the pitching's better on this team and the offense is on fire. So yeah, look, they're absolutely killing it. Best team.
They're right now the most balanced team, I would say, in certainly in the National League, perhaps in all of baseball.
Yeah, definitely.
And who would have? And I was ragging on their pitching, before the season started. So
Yeah, so was
I.
That's
not good for me.
You looked at the lineup, and there really wasn't a ton there, right? You didn't know necessarily what you're going to get out of Nola and Wheeler. They've been up and down the last few years, but hey, everything's clicking on that team right now. And with the Acuna injury to Braves, that's only going to put more wind in their sails moving forward. So, you might have this division might be wrapped up again by the trade deadline, but not with the team everybody thought it was going to be wrapped up with.
All right. So that's our top 10 for this week. Now, some of you who are really baseball seam heads are familiar with the umpire Angel Hernandez. Now, Angel has had a checkered past. Mainly, he seems to be in the middle of some pretty major calls. And sometimes they go the way that, replay and other things would show them to go. So, Angel this weekend said that after the season he was going to retire, and which if there's a Angel Hernandez, going away tour, trust me, there will be every place he stops, they will be giving him something of of value just because Angel's deciding to hang up the spikes. So we have for you this afternoon. We will talk about it. We will have Angel's worst calls. Let's begin with the Angel. Angel cost the White Sox a win. Hernandez earned veteran podcaster Hawk Harrelson's, dying. Let's put it this way. Hawk had a way, he's not broadcasting anymore, of putting things that basically was, you got to be out of your mind. Well, you got to be out of your mind was his saying to Angel Hernandez. Hernandez, said that Alex Rios was out in an extra inning clash with the Marlins. Rios' call wouldn't have much. However, the circumstances of his departure from the field of play made it a contentious one. If Rios was ruled to have touched the bag in time, the White Sox would have claimed a walk-off victory. But Hernandez's hubris didn't let it happen. However, the legendary Haas Carlson said that sometimes umpires need glasses, and then there's Angel Hernandez. So the White Sox didn't get a win because Angel missed the call. Now, that was before you could go to replay. After replay, he would have been seen that he could have definitely beat it out. Angel Hernandez versus Bryce Harper. Okay. Hernandez and Bryce Harper engaged in one of the epic war of words. Hernandez deemed that Harper had brought his bat across the plate against the Padres last September. Harper had some of baseball's most trained, Harper has some of baseball's 14.9 walk rate, which, by the way, is like ridiculous. Didn't matter when it came to Hernandez, who opted to wreak havoc on Harper and his Phillies teammates at the time from third base. Okay, he made the call from third base, not behind the plate, from third base, prompting Harper to rush third base, as you might expect, because of Bryce's price, and basically get thrown out about halfway down to get to Hernandez. So, it's going to be one of those ones that you got to go. So I don't know what to tell you about that one. One more. We'll do two more. Kyle Schwarber, of course, another. This was not in the same game, but Harper had rung up, so Schwarber was on hand simply to make for great television. What he did is he embroiled himself into the controversy. The Brewers last year, Schwarber stepped up to the plate in the ninth inning, hoping to make some magic happen. What occurred instead was pure theatrics. Hernandez brought the fireworks, sending Schwarber packing to spot Josh Hader's pitch, trailing 4 inches off the plate. Schwarber, one of a couple of batters from both sides who had been wronged by Hernandez, opted to reveal his frustrations with a series of emotional gestures, each of which employed to just basically rev up Hernandez at the plate. Unsurprisingly, he was bounced from the contest, but it made for quite an interesting moment. So there's two. Angel Hernandez taking out 2 Phillies, in 2 days was a pretty amazing situation there. So, even looking at him Hernandez can get you in hot water. Case in point, look no further than Ian Kinsler, the longtime Tiger second baseman, who was sent to the showers after literally just walking away from the home plate, turning back and giving him a very long, sarcastic glance. So he didn't say anything. He just looked at Hernandez and got tossed.
That's bad. That's got to be illegal. What the hell is that? I can't even look at you.
It's amazing. So, Angel Hernandez, so long, farewell. I'd like to say you'd be missed, but you're not going to be missed. It is that kind of thing. I mean, what's the old saying? People don't pay to see umpires. People don't pay to see officials of any sort. Yet there are some officials, and Angel's not just the only one. There are umpires in baseball. There are officials in football. There are people who just, whatever they say is right, even if they're wrong. And I think replay has done a wonderful job of helping in that regard. But it's still a game where I assume in the not too distant future. They've done it in minor league baseball. They've tried to use no umpires and use the cyclops like they do in tennis, and it seems to work pretty well from a baseball standpoint. So we'll have to see, how that works out. But Angel definitely was a character, or is a character, but won't be missed, as the old saying goes, from that standpoint.
It's just fascinating to me, Jim, just because like you see it all the time. Obviously, players are always gonna argue with refs. Hell, and my favorite sport, soccer, we see it on every play almost. About a dive or something like that. So there's always going to be arguments. But if you're a guy like Angel Hernandez, how do you live with yourself knowing that, you've argued with these players and probably 80% of the time when you go watch the replay, you're wrong. The player was right. How do you live with yourself? How can you show up to work the next day and say, I'm doing a good job?
My roommates early in my career, Pat Donatelli's father, Augie, was an umpire in the major leagues for a number of years. And Augie had great stories about, umpires and baseball players. And one of my favorites was the fact that he used to battle with Leo DeRocher, who was, for many years, Walter Alston's bench coach and for third base coach for the Dodgers. But then moved on to become a Chicago Cubs manager. Well, Don Drysdale at the time, the late Don Drysdale, was pitching in a game, and he was about, if lucky, if he could finish 5 innings in a game against the Cubs, he would break the scoreless streak of innings. I think it was 55 or 56 scoreless innings in a row. But Don was also famous for throwing, a ball that had been doctored with something. It could be sweat, it could be Vitalis, or anything that could get a grip so that the moment the ball spun out, you didn't know where it was going to go. So Og walked out to the mound before the game and says, "Look, Donnie, nobody wants to see you get this, streak more than I do. But the guy that's in the dugout over there knows you just as well as anybody on this planet. So I would suggest that, if you ever threw the game clean, today would be the day to do it, because he's going to call you. And I'm going to have to come out." Third pitch of the game literally goes off it falls off the table. There's no, and it's wet. You can actually see something coming off of it. So, out comes Leo and starts screaming. Og goes out to the mound, tells Don to take his hat off. And it's basically drenched in some substance. So he literally has to get in a hat, gets a towel. And from that point, he had to finish it. He got his record, but wasn't easy. And Og said that life, as an umpire, was never easy. And you had to make the calls. And those were the old days when calls were made and there wasn't any replay or anything to back it up. And baseball players and managers just had to deal with whatever the umpire said. It was gold, and there it is. So you can win with it, you can lose with it. You got to deal with it. So anyway, so there we go with that. Couple of quick points over the weekend. We saw some fantastic auto racing over the weekend. We've got Red Bull wins another Grand Prix of Monaco. We had a 4-hour delay at Indianapolis. Penske, who owns the racetrack and the cars, he went ahead and won the Indy 500 with Joseph Newgarden, and a rain-shortened Charlotte 600 was won by Christopher Bell. So the biggest day of racing was a longest day of racing for a lot of reasons, not the least of which was the weather. Also, we saw the Boston Celtics close out the Pacers 4-0. Surprised there, or just more of a, um, thought that Boston was the better team and would have willed out regardless of what time, how many games they had to play.
I thought Boston was the better team and was going to go through. I didn't think they were going to sweep. I thought the Pacers would win at least 2 games. Hell, they had a chance to win game 1 and game 3, and it just seemed more of a. It just seemed more so like, even if you look at the 3 of the 4 games, the Pacers covered. And obviously, the first game they had a chance to win and went to overtime. Then they got destroyed in the second game. But the last 2 games in Indiana, they were only settled by a few points, and there were games the Pacers were leading the whole time and blew it at the end for the Celtics just to win by 3. So, yeah, it was definitely. I'm very shocked at the fact that it was a sweep, because if you watch the games and the way that they ended, it was there. The Pacers could have won 3 of those 4 games, and they just in the last minute of the game they dropped the ball every time.
Which is a problem. You can't, you got to be careful. And it looks like the Pacers are like, okay, they need to learn to close games out. They had the games in hand. They just couldn't close them out. Boston, on the other hand, they understand how to close games out. And now we see, is it going to be Dallas, or is it going to be, we'll have to see who ends up coming, on the other side. I kind of feel that Dallas is going to be the opponent. What do you think?
Well, I mean, Dallas is up 3-0, and they have a chance to sweep the Timberwolves tonight. So you'd think it's Dallas, but I'm still gonna say it's gonna be the Timberwolves and the Celtics. I think if there's any team that can come back down 3-0, it's this Timberwolves team. And Jim, I think maybe we're gonna see some history in the NBA Conference Finals, but we'll find out. Obviously, I could be proven wrong tonight, and the Mavericks sweep, the Celtics sweep, and there you go. You get Dallas, Boston in the finals, and then we'll see what happens there. But just for for fun, let's say we're gonna witness some history.
All right, I'm all for that. On the hockey side, it looks like the Panthers and the Rangers are playing some pretty decent hockey against each other. They've played 3 games so far, and 2 of the 3 have gone into overtime. So it's definitely an even match there. And out west, I had actually hoped for the Oilers, but it doesn't look like they're going to, they haven't played as well as I had hoped for them to play.
Yeah, well, it's still early. It's only 2-1 in each series, and that's the funny thing, right? The NBA, it looks like we're about to get 2 sweeps into the championship, and then the hockey. Even though the road team I think is up in both series right now, this one feels more like both are going to go 7 games, and just like as you said, the last 2 with the Panthers. Yeah, the Panthers won those 2 the Rangers. The Rangers won those 2 against the Panthers, but they were both in overtime, right? There's been not much between these teams, and you could make the same case with the Oilers and the Stars. Obviously, the Stars won 5-3, but the games have been tighter. Oilers have been playing better on defense. So I think we're going to get the opposite here. We're going to get 2 series that go closer to 7 games. I think we're getting a back and forth type thing.
Absolutely. Before we close things out here today, just a note that very sad to see the death of broadcaster and certainly basketball legend Mr. Walton. Yeah, it was working with Bill Walton was a treat. I had the pleasure of doing it with college, working college games with Bill. Bill would show up, how most broadcasters come with their blazer and their shirts and all that. Bill would show up basically with a Hawaiian shirt and sandals. He didn't care. He would sit down, put on a headset, and would be absolutely hilarious and insightful at the same time. He has been fighting cancer, unfortunately, for a very long time. and he still has been on the air. I mean, he called the games in the NCAA tournament, and he did the Pac-12 tournament. I mean, here's a guy who was two-time MVP. He won 2 rings, one with the Portland Trail Blazers and one with the Boston Celtics. He was the NBA's 6th man. He retired in 1990, more than anything because of his back problems that he had. His son Luke was on the team that he beat in that 1986 when the Lakers and the Celtics played each other. So it was. It's sad to see him go, but he went out on his own terms, and the Celtics actually dedicated yesterday's game to Bill, which was interesting because Bill came to them. I don't want to say it was toward the end of his career because he still had something to play. Obviously, you don't win a 6th man award without being able to play, but he was desperately injured at that time, and he played through a lot of pain. And he played on that team with Bird and Parrish and McHale and those guys. And so Bill Walton, tremendous athlete, took UCLA to 2 national championships while he was there. Had the tough job of following Kareem Abdul-Jabbar at UCLA. So he came in, fantastic basketball, wonderfully for the Celtics, and became a broadcaster of good stature. So Hall of Fame player, Hall of Fame person. We'll miss you, Bill, and we'll miss his humor and his insight. So Bill Walton, dead at the age of 71 due to cancer, far too young. All right, now it's up to you, Mr. Amadeus. You got stuff going on, and although it might be a little slow, we got an opportunity here to find out what's going on tonight.
Yes, make sure you check out my premium picks at bigal.com, pickadvisor.com, and theinsidersroom.com. The links are in the description below. Coming off a 2-2 day, but looking to bounce back on the pitch. I got some plays in Copa Libertadores and Copa Sudamericana tonight that you can get 2 in each, including my Copa Sudamericana game of the month. I also have a play in the NBA that you can grab. And, I went 2-2 yesterday, but I went 2-0 in MLB. I got another MLB play that you can grab today. So make sure you check that out.
Super. One last thing before we go. You and I are tennis fans. It looks like we might have seen the end of Rafa Nadal at the French, or perhaps even along the Grand Slam circuit, because of he got bounced in the first round of the French. And that's a tournament and a court that he's pretty much owned for certainly when he was healthy. And again, sorry to see Rafael step away, but sometimes it's better to go when you're not playing well than it is to try to hang in there.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think anybody was expecting him to win the tournament, especially with the huge layoff he's had. Really. For him to just come in and dominate, that would have been very impressive in his current state. But yeah, I don't think any of us were expecting him to get bounced in the first round either. Right. So definitely a little disappointing there. And you might be right. Maybe that's the last we'll see, because we know he doesn't like Wimbledon and he doesn't like the hard court. This was really the only major. He's only going to come out for the majors too. So unless he comes out next year, that might be the last tournament we see him in.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that with Nadal is that he's a very proud guy. He's not one of these people who wants to be, wants to go out there and play and not play at his best. I wouldn't rule out seeing him play tennis as a doubles player, but I do think that you're right, that, from a standpoint of him leaving tennis, it's always better to leave when you're ahead than when you're behind. And hopefully when he gets bounced in the first round on a court that you have owned for many, many years, now's the time to move out of the way. And there are a lot of good kids coming up. So we'll continue watching. We'll keep you posted on the French Open as we move along. But for today, that does it, folks. We hope you had a great time. We did. We will talk to you tomorrow. By all means, check out Amadeus's picks in the show box below. And until tomorrow, we wish you nothing but the best, everybody. Have a great day.